Greetings to you. I am Elijah Mohammed, the preacher of freedom, justice, and equality to my people, the lost and found members of the tribe of Shabazz, that is now being called Negroes in America, who were lost here by the bringing in of their fathers by one John Hawkins, an English slave trader from England in the year 1555. So says Almighty God Allah to me, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises is due forever and forever, for finding we the lost members of our nation, the great Asiatic nation, the original black man, the first in the sun and the last, to whom all praises is due to Allah. I bring before you this subject from time and again: justice for the so-called American Negro. This particular common thing among men and nations of the earth, justice, has never been given to the so-called American Negro. Today he's 400 years in the Western Hemisphere, and 300 or more of those years he served as an real slave for the American white man, a servitude slave. He served according to the history wrote up by the slave masters of what they did to our fathers while they held them in servitude slavery. It is enough for us today to lift up our voice all into one and say to Americans, let us go from you. Let us go free for ourselves. We don't want no more of you, for you has mistreated our fathers long before ever that we were born. And now you has mistreated us for the past near 100 years that you call freedom for us. Today we have very little justice in this world, only that which we are able to buy, not any that is voluntarily given to us. That is not coming to us at all. For those who are in power have not the heart, the love for justice to give it to us. We have been in the courts again and again and seen how that justice has been deprived of us. We have seen ourselves in many places being charged with absolutely false, doing the thing that we was not guilty of, just for the enemy of justice to have some kind of excuse for doing injustice to us. All of this is well clear to you that is listening. It's clear to the world of human beings all around the equator And all over the poles, wherever a human being is at, he's civilized today, he knows the plight of the poor American Negroes. They know his history. They know his enemies. They talk it among themselves all over the earth. Many of them is grieved. Many of them shake their heads and walk away, say nothing. Stand at the idea of a whole race or nation of people suffering under hand of another, whom they have served faithfully and humble for many centuries. And today, the so-called American Negroes is hated more than any enemies of America's, regardless to where they may be. America's love for even aggressive nation is more than she has for her own slave, who has aided them for centuries. The very eyes of white Americans, when they are cast upon the so-called Negro, speaks hatred, dislike, and scorn for that Negro. Or even the very smile of their faces towards the Negro is in mockery of the very evils and misguidings that they has given to that very same Negro that they now laugh and make mock of. As it was according to the Bible story of Samson. They laughed at him being blind and unable to get revenge for them punching out his eyes. But it was their hands who put his eyes out. They had no pity for him. So it is with the poor American Negroes, my people, whose spiritual eyes has been blinded, punched out by the hand of their slave master and his children. Today we are facing a complete showdown with the God of justice, the one that the world has been expecting to come for 2,000 years. That one that will not miss even the very weight of an atom, nor less than the weight of an atom, according to the Holy Quran. Whether it's good or bad, that he will not put on the scale of justice to weigh. We today, the so-called American Negroes, who have been mistreated for many and many years, sit in the courts of our open enemy and seek justice and find this none. As Isaiah says in the 14th verse of the 59th chapter, judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar. The truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Truth stands at the door. It's all in the streets, but it's kicked out and it's trampled upon and not given any honor. Justice is yet a far way off. Truth should bring justice, but truth is not recognized. It is turned away as though it was false. And false is recognized and respected above truth. Therefore, justice cannot be executed unless truth is recognized. It must go along with truth, and truth must go along with justice. If we are to benefit from either, we must benefit from both. The 15th verse says, "Yea, truth faileth. It failed to get to those and convince those whom it was sent. And he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey." He becomes a prey because that he give up evil for truth. It is true today the voice of the so-called American Negroes who now accepts the truth under the name Islam, the great religion of truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. He suffers persecution, long jail sentences. He suffers the brutality of police. He suffers the gunshot and death at the hand of police. He suffers long sentences poured upon him for accepting the truth. He stays behind the jail bars, behind the federal penitentiary walls for years, just because that he believed in truth and forsaken falsehood to follow after righteousness. This is the lot of those who want to go right. This is the manifestation of that slave master and his children, that they believe not in truth and justice, and they welcomes no righteousness, but welcomes evil, mischief-making, falsehood, and the doing of justice to one another. This is what we learn when we see these things now going on in our eyes. The poor so-called American Negro has just about as much right of justice under the law of the American government as a rabbit have under the law of hounds and hawks over his head. These things we must admit and stop trying to fool ourselves that we have justice when we go to the courts. No, my followers today, that you know is being absolutely, willfully sent away to prison houses to serve long terms in the prison, state, and federal penitentiaries, just because they are Muslims, just because they want to be righteous, just because they have given up the way of the wicked and want now to go aright. They becomes a prey in the government of the wicked, as Isaiah says in the 15th verse of the 59th chapter. But we must remember that there is a day awaiting, that we all will be judged. There is a day waiting when we all will meet our desert that we have so gleefully dished out to others that we must eat ourselves. We must remember again that the day is now, that we must join on to our aunt. We must accept the God of truth and justice and forsake the God of evil and falsehood. Today, we must acknowledge the truth. We must acknowledge that justice must rule and injustice must come to an end. We suffer at the hand of our enemy for a time, but the judgment of the enemy is on its way and will not tarry. It is making haste. The whole entire heavens and the earth was created in truth and justice. We must remember that. We must remember again that evil was to rule for a time, but truth and justice would rule forever. We must remember again that it is written that the righteous would suffer for a while, but would be the winner in the end. Those who persecute the righteous and destroy them, take away their lives, shall meet their own desert that they put out. Their own lives shall be taken away, and they too shall be destroyed. For they had no rights whatsoever to do such evil. The righteous have not given them any such cause. No, they don't want no cause. They only want the privilege of meeting the so-called Negro on the streets, on the highway, or anywhere to destroy him. They have blood in their eyes for the black man. They hope to deceive him. The American so-called Negroes today are as Israel was 4,000 years ago, under the power of Pharaoh. Pharaoh did not love Israel. Had he would have made them his equals, he would have given them justice and not the very lowest that a human being can be given, the status of a slave. Being a slave is the very lowest step that we can sit on. We glorify, some of us, in the power and the great works of our enemies, to our own shame and disgrace. We should glorify in something of our own, not in a temporary world which will vanish and not be seen tomorrow. We must remember has come upon us, and this day and time we see it. And that in the very country and people that we are now living in, they are preparing as Pharaoh prepared when he visioned Israel becoming an independent nation. He began to prepare for their doom. He wanted to destroy them by destroying all the males of Israel in their infancy. And after that, he knew that Israel would have no way of increasing her nation without a male of her own. Today it is the opposite. The wise enemy today seeks to force and to slip the black woman through birth control law. Put her under this, destroy her increase before it's born. Before ever she bring him into the world, make it impossible for her to produce one. This is a more scientific way than Pharaoh dreamed in his day and time. Very easy way to destroy a race of people permanently by destroying the woman. The very seed cannot even take root because there is no fertile soil for it to sprout from. This so-called American Negro woman should be mindful of these evil invitations given to her under the false pretenses that she have too many children already to look after, under the false pretenses that the government cannot take care of a world of children. For you have so many now in their own the welfare. I said to you, the earth is full of food, and this false mention to you that your children will not be cared for is only to get a chance at destroying the future of your nation with yourself. You must remember again, poor dark woman, who want you if you cannot produce? There is no sane man that wants a woman that cannot produce him a child if he wanted one, even though he may not care for many, and he may himself prevent that. But he don't want no one to say his wife cannot produce a child for him if he so wanted her to do. He would rather have that to say than to say she can't, even though he wanted a child. She can't produce one. No man wants that type of woman for his wife. This you're running your own self, and it's a divine law of justice on the side of the man, that if his wife cannot produce the child, he have the right to divorce her, cast her out. This is easy to make you to believe that it is all right because of the expense. Some of us do it for other purposes. But remember again and finally that this is a sin in the eyes of God. To do these things you fall a victim to God. And remember again that he will not accept you himself on the day of judgment if you cannot produce. He will not accept you. You will be as a dead limb on a green tree that men cut off and cast into the fire. This means human beings. And this is a very shame that it is not clearly understood by our people here today. It is a shame. It is a sin that they do not understand that the world that they are in today is not their friend. It is not a world that is a friend to God. It is not a world that God will accept. Nor it is a world that was intended to be accepted by God. It is a world that belongs altogether to a God opposed to the God of righteousness. Therefore, the evil, or that which is no good of this world, cannot be accepted by the God of truth and righteousness.